We are going to be getting into a little segment that we're going to be doing here, and it is called Stonks Up and Stonks Down. And I'm sure you're familiar with that dumbass Stonks meme. And the general gist behind it is that there are a couple of players who did a good job of kind of raising their profile and improving and showing that maybe there's a little bit extra juice to squeeze there. And there are a couple of players that kind of did the opposite and kind of, disappointed in one way or another. It doesn't have to mean that these players are either surefire superstars or that they're complete bums or anything like that. It's just that maybe the evaluation, the math, changed the most significantly for that player. And so we're going to start off the segment by looking at the players who really kind of improved their stock. And we've already mentioned this guy already. The guy I'm talking about is obviously AJ Lawson. And AJ Lawson was easily the best Summer League Raptor, in my opinion. And when I found out that they did not have him for that semifinal game, you really kind of had to think that they maybe weren't as favored to win just because of how good he was. What were your thoughts on AJ Lawson and his performance this summer?
I think he's making a real good case to be one of those, to grab that one of those final spots for the team, which I think he made a good case at the end of the season last year, which I know it was like not a lot of important winning basketball, but he really came out and continued delivering it and took a lot of leadership, which is exactly what you want to see from a guy who, he turned 25 during the summer league.
Yeah, he had his birthday, and
people they were serenading him with some happy birthday.
That was definitely one of the best moments. And there was like a blowout. Well, not actually a blowout. I think in the fourth game was when he had his birthday.
Yeah.
And they were winning by, not double digits, 2 possessions. And instead of taking an open shot at the very end of the game, he drove to the lane and got fouled and was sent to the line. And in my opinion, my theory was that he just wanted to hear them say his happy birthday to him, which they did. What was very interesting about AJ Lawson was the creation ability. I think that was really the special sauce in the half court that allowed them to look, better than miserable. Because when he was out, they really struggled to create. His ability to put the ball on the floor and also be an outlet for other people's creation. So Jamal Shed and the other guards on the team were able to find him in the corner mostly, but also they ran some screen action for him off the ball where he would come off of a screen and shoot it. He was just a really solid, dependable player. And it's not, so we'll get into the caveats here because we've already mentioned it. His age, 25, he's been around the Summer League multiple times. And so it is kind of expected that a player of his age would be doing what he did, which is, school all the youngsters. But at the same time, I liked what I saw, and the shooting numbers and the shooting splits were quite good. As you can see, 50% from the field, 45% from 3, and 76% from the line. That's really good. 45% from 3. And we all saw him last season. It wasn't like he was a slouch. I mean, he pretty much earned that. It was between him and Jared Rhoden. And he was able to secure that final two-way spot or guaranteed deal, and he is under contract for next season. Obviously, he has to make it through training camp, but it looks like he is one of the guys that's on the bubble, and he didn't eliminate himself. So from that standpoint, he did improve his stock. So it's interesting. Go ahead.
He did exactly what he needed to do, was show that he can shoot. 45% from 3 is no joke, and he did it on like 5 attempts or something. Like, it was high volume, and that's exactly what he would need to be if he's going to come into the team. He needs to be a guy that's going to come in, hit, maybe go 2 of 3 on some shots, and provide like a very small spark in a run. He did great getting out in transition, which was what that entire identity of that team was force turnovers, get out in transition. He was good at making the next pass. I think he did exactly what he needed to do to continue to impress the coaches and the front office. So I mean, it was a big win for him. It was a great performance.
Yeah, absolutely. And the interesting part is just whether he's going to be able to be a contributor off of the bench next season. I'm sure that's, on the top of everybody's mind. Like, is this going to translate to a spot in the rotation? And if it doesn't, Canadian kid, hopefully he lands on his feet somewhere, and hopefully he's good enough to stay with the Raptors. Okay. Now we're going to get to the next player on the list. And although he did not have an incredible end to the Summer League tournament, he did have a very good start to the tournament. And he did show quite a bit during the Summer League, enough so that he definitely, his stonks are on the rise, in my opinion. What did you see from Shamshay that, piqued your attention?
His feel was so much improved compared to any other time I'd seen him play basketball. He still did the stuff that like is his natural abilities of some good rim protection, meeting players at the rim, picking up players at the perimeter and really staying with them. He did all of those great defensive things you want from him, but his feel on offense was awesome. And he had 2 or 3 highlight reel passes that I'm sure everybody saw on Twitter, on YouTube, all over the place, because he had a couple crazy transition. Like he had that one where he wrapped it around the guy that I think we covered the other week. He just he's getting more used to just being a basketball player. And to me, he seems like he's ahead of schedule from what we would have expected from him as a project player. So to me, it's looking great. I'm hoping he gets some run with the big club. I'm hoping he gets some of those backup 5 split minutes with Sandro. I hope they kind of split that time to get kind of more of a flavor of rim protection from Shamshay, and then more of that shooting kind of creation from Sandro, depending on what circumstance needs it. So yeah.
Yeah, I'm just showing the clip right now. It's just a really nice, as you mentioned, the feel is just so much further along than I had assumed it was, because, this is very important, because we mention it when we're talking about AJ Lawson, who's 25. Shamshay is on the other end of the spectrum. Last season, he was the youngest player in the draft, excuse me. So probably the youngest player in the association. I'm not exactly sure, but
he was at the beginning of the season, because he was still 18 for most of the season.
Yeah, exactly. So when you're grading somebody and when you're looking at a player, age is super important. And if you're going to take points away from AJ Lawson, you got to add points on for Ulrich Shamshay, who showed a level of poise that I was not expecting. I was certainly not expecting him to be a contributor this summer league. I was expecting more rawness, and there certainly were some problems. So we'll get into that. The biggest issue that I saw was his unwillingness, it seemed, to finish with dunks around the rim, finishing strong around the rim. But when I mentioned that on Twitter, there were a bunch of really good comments that people brought it to my attention that his hand was hurt. And I mean, I didn't notice it, and I probably should have, but it looked like his hands were bandaged in some way. So that could be a consideration. Another theory I had was that it might be a footwork issue. I know that a lot of younger bigs, when they don't have all of the reps and they don't have the experience, a lot of the time the footwork isn't there, and power dribble into jumping off at 2 feet and slamming it home with 2 hands, that is the ideal thing. Like, you would hope that at some point he's going to have that, because when you watch him, he's very large, super long arms, like a real 6'10". He might even still be growing, very broad shoulders. The man is like a beast. Like, you look at him, he is a physical specimen. So you would hope that in the future, this guy is going to be finishing strong. And then, of course, there were some issues, especially later in the tournament, where he was simply just kind of, rushing things. It just didn't feel as natural as the first couple of games. But again, we've got to talk about the age and the upside and where I expected him to be. There's no doubt in my mind that he is one of the guys that really took a step forward in terms of where I thought that they would be. So that's why he's on the list.
Yeah. Like I think if he had just looked like he did in the last game, I think the reaction from most people would still be like, "Oh, he looks decent."
Yeah.
Like I don't think there would be too much disappointment in if it was just how he was looking then, but to come out of the gate be very disruptive, be in the right place, right time, working some pick and roll with Shed, with Hepburn, with like a lot of stuff that we just it's further along. It's great.
Yeah, he attempted a couple of bounce, like he did a couple of really nice post-entry feed bounce passes to cutters. But he kind of spammed that move a little bit, and
he got excited with it.
And
yeah,
he got a couple of turnovers. But it was nice to see the first couple of times, and then quite obviously, where a center and a guy of his size is going to make the biggest difference is on defense and on the boards. And I think he did a good, especially defensively. I think he did a really good job with almost 3 stocks in 20 minutes. That's really impressive. So he was definitely protecting the rim. And yeah, pretty impressed with him. Okay, so the flip side of the coin, I'm afraid, we have to go to the Stonks down. The not Stonks. The guys who perhaps did not impress relative to our expectations. And of course, the first person that we're going to be talking about, a guy who really did not have a very good tournament or summer league, Colin Castleton. So Colin Castleton, I mean, anybody who watched the team last season, especially down the stretch, got to see a healthy dose of Colin Castleton. And my thoughts on him were that he was, a solid stopgap player that could come in and eat minutes and was nothing special, but, did a decent job at the backup 5. So I was thinking more of the same. And he is an older player too. He was a senior when he came out, and this is his second season in the league, or last season was. So I was thinking this guy's going to come in and he's going to school these whippersnappers. He's going to show these guys that he belongs in the league. He's going to be a force. And wow, he certainly was not. He was quite poor. What were your thoughts on Colin Castleton?
Yeah, I think the big thing, nobody would initially say, "Oh, I have such high hopes for Colin Castleton," because he was kind of added late at the end of the season. He's not a guy that we have a lot of our stock in already, but the opportunities that he was getting the starting spot every time over Shamshay, you start to think, okay, what do they see in him? And really, they're just giving them the opportunity to one more look to impress them. And every time he was missing shots, he was fouling like crazy. He would go up for, which was pretty crazy, he kept going up for one-armed rebounds while bodying the other guy with his elbow. And then he would get called every time. And it's like, he
got called out on the broadcast.
Yeah, I remember.
Multiple times they were kind of dissing him on the broadcast.
They really were.
What is this guy doing? Why is he going up? And he was not securing rebounds at a rate that when you look at his stats, 4 rebounds a game in 11 minutes, that's pretty good. But in terms of the opportunities that he was getting, it seemed like he was flubbing them. I mean, you can just look at the stats. 11 minutes, 2.5 points, 33% from the field, 33% from 3, 0% from the free throw line. He only took I think it was 2 free throws. Yeah. 1.8 turnovers. Yeah, the turnovers were very concerning.
Yeah.
Catching the ball around the post, it seemed like he was better last season when he had the ball, especially compared to Orlando Robinson, who he earned the contract over, which is a bit surprising because I think Orlando Robinson was a better defender than Colin Castleton. But the fact that he was not turning the ball over and seemed like he could make some hook shots around the rim as opposed to Orlando Robinson, that's what gave him the nod. So, yeah.
His highlight was cussing out, was it EJ Liddell or whatever? If that's your highlight, which is that's the only reason that I have this kind of gimmick love for Castleton, is that he kind of has this angry divorced dad energy on the court. And I just like, I think that's hilarious. But when it's time to actually like win a game, you're like, okay, we're starting this guy. Like he came in for the final game there, and he got 3 fouls in like the first minute or something, right? And
it was brutal.
Is this the plan? Like just hack and hack and hack to try to change the way the ref is going to blow the whistle? I don't know, but yeah, he couldn't. And like Pap says in the or D P Dap says in the chat here, he's not an NBA level player. If we're being honest, he's somebody that maybe we hope for more in the summer league, but going forward, I would expect him to not come out of training camp on the team. But we'll see. They've made some decisions that I've
baffling
in my mind and before. So,
but we have to give him props to standing up for his teammate.
Definitely.
Obviously, Liddell Bush League foul on Jacoby Walter, fouled him while he was going up. And yeah, I mean, he got thrown out of the game, but he got an earful from Colin Castleton, who got right in his face and kind of, stood up for his teammate. So, I like to see that. And
we love that. Yeah.
No, the NBA is the hardest league in the world. It's an extremely, extremely competitive league, and not everybody can get to the tippity top of the mountain. And unfortunately, it looks like this is kind of maybe the last stop for Colin Castleton. And I mean, we could keep going on and on and on, but let's call it there. We will go to the next player, and this is a little controversial because there were a couple of players who, in terms of like the stats and everything, maybe you could make a case that Mobo wasn't one of the players who deserves to be on this list, but we will give it to Jonathan Mobo. And there are a couple of reasons for this. So Jonathan Mobo, there were some very good things about Jonathan Mobo. First of all, the defense was very good. Okay. 1.8 stocks. And he was, he can switch out onto the perimeter. He can play under the rim. 5 rebounds in 22 minutes. That's pretty good. And he has good vision, and he's a good transition player. That was one of the things that he did. However, he definitely showed his limitations. And in Summer League, this is an opportunity for players who are on the bubble to show you something that, they wouldn't be able to show you in the NBA because they're playing a role. You're hoping that they can blossom and show you a larger portion of what they bring to the table, like shooting, finishing outside of dunks. Those were the two things that I really wanted to see from Jonathan Mobo. And as you can see, 0% from 3. He did attempt a couple of threes, and he finished mainly, he had a high field goal percentage pretty much because he would dunk the ball in transition or catch a lob and whatnot. And he didn't really show how he could contribute on offense. What do you think about that?
Yeah, it was good to see him dunk everything, because it's like, yeah, that's how you're going to get your points. But he's 24 almost now, and you just expect and hope for more from him if he's going to continue with the Raptors. He's in a position where there is a minutes crunch in that backup 4, backup small ball 5 kind of area, and CMB has come in, and there's probably a lot of pressure on a guy like Mobo. It's really a prove it year for him if he's going to stick around with the team and potentially the league. And I would have just hoped that he would come out showing a little bit more that he's developed, that he's worked on, instead of just knuckling down on stuff that he was already basically good at. His defense was still good. He was still disruptive. Right. But I think the standard I had for him was just a bit higher than the people who are 20, the people who are 19, you really want him to come in and he was a great leader off the bench. There was a lot of clips of when he sat out that one game injured. He was talking, he was calling out, he was coaching from the sidelines. Nobody's thinking he's not a good teammate, but I would have hoped for more maturity to his game where he's not late on reads, getting stuck low on the baseline with nowhere to go. There was a couple of those moments where you're like, I hope that you were more developed by now.
Yeah. And one of the things that I wanted to see from him, of course, 3-point shooting is something that you would really hope for a player who's not true 5-sized. You'd want him to be able to play next to a guy like, say, Jakob Poeltl, obviously would help playing next to Scotty Barnes. But the thing that kind of disappointed me the most was how loose his handle was. And if you're going to, like, one of the things that impresses me about Mobo is the fact that he does have good vision. He can, when he gets the ball in the post, he can make high-level reads and pretty good passes. But one of the ways that you actually make that skill pop, like a very synergistic skill along with vision, is the ability to handle the ball. And his handle, like, he turned it over way too much, like 1.3 assists to almost 2 turnovers. And a lot of those were simply just, he was handling the ball and he would get stripped, or he'd like dribble it off his foot or lose control of it. Just not something you want to see. So while I'm not writing him off just yet, just like Colin Castleton, I think we can probably say that he's probably not going to make the team. Mobo, I assume he'll be in training camp. He'll have a chance to show that he belongs. This guy is a little bit of a letdown. And there were 2 other guys, honorable mentions, in that I expected a little bit more from them. And it's really only about the counting stats, because when I watched them play, I was happy. But after looking at their stats, I was a little kind of, I thought they would be better, was Jacoby Walter and Jamal Shed. And obviously those 2 guys, very good defensively. They played really hard. But the shooting stats for both of them kind of was not where I was hoping. I was hoping that those guys like Jacoby Walter was going to be a little bit more consistent from 3. So that's it. That is the segment Stonks Up, Stonks Down. Let us know in the comments what you guys think about our choices. Do you think we were too harsh on somebody, too complimentary to somebody else? Do you think we should have given somebody else some shine? Let us know in the comments. But yeah,